Praise Jesus! We've got another special episode of Wrecking and Rapping as a part of continuing my Wrap It Up interview series. I'm sitting down with Mason Merchant. He live streams debates on TikTok and posts the videos on YouTube and Facebook. Facebook, which he's only been doing for roughly 3 months, just hit 10,000 followers. So I want to be the first to throw you a little party and say, congratulations, you did it, USA, USA. But how has this fame affected your life, Mason?
In positive and negative ways. More positive than negative. With any kind of notoriety, there comes a worry that it's going to affect your life in some kind of way. As you know, I'm currently in the military, so it's I have to tread extra carefully when it comes to doing debates and things like that. Because doxing exists, spam reporting exists, and then if somebody sees something that I say and they don't like it, they could just report to my chain of command. But positive ways, it gives me something to do. It gives me something to strive towards. I really enjoy it. I do it mostly for fun, partially to build skill and to show people that a lot of their beliefs are inherited rather than reasoned into. So
you on beliefs inherited, we talked about your religion, Pyrrhonist. Were your parents Pyrrhonists?
no.
Okay, so you didn't inherit that.
Actually, my dad is a Christian, and my stepmom is an atheist. So
And do you don't think that did the atheism? I guess the Pyrrhonist is all based in logic, real or skepticism, as you said. So just being skeptic would lead you there. You mentioned you started watching debates of Charlie Kirk and Andrew Wilson roughly a year ago. Why did you start about then? They've been around for a while.
I don't know really. I think it was coming on for a while. I was stationed in Colorado for 3 years, and Denver is obviously a very liberal city. And every time I would go out downtown Denver, I would see like people holding up signs that say trans rights are human rights, or abortion access for all. And then, I would go online and these videos would pop up of people holding signs saying things like trans rights are human rights and abortion access for all. And people would stop and talk to the people holding these signs. And some of those people were like Caitlin Bennett. I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but Cam Higbee does it too now. I don't know if you know who that is. And then Charlie Kirk was just like a grounding force for pretty much everything that I believe. He kind of resonated with my value structure. And at the time, I actually was questioning my faith. And, it's important to reason yourself into a position rather than just accept it because somebody told you that it was the case.
Did you do any of those street debates then with people holding up signs? Did you ever talk to people on the streets?
No, I have actually considered I've considered protests in the form of like standing outside of a Planned Parenthood with a poster of like an abortion at 9 months. I'd be like, this is what you're advocating for.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't done anything public facing yet.
Well, this is a great start. Because I see the debates that you do is that like a radio like we're doing right now that you can't see them face to face?
Sometimes they have their camera turned on, but I try to be as respectful as possible when I make my videos. Sometimes it's like, yeah, you're dumb, but then I try not to put people's faces in the
Mhm, mhm.
videos that I post so that they can have some sort of like protection. Because even if what they're saying is stupid, they don't deserve to be uh absolutely humiliated for it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I was thinking of it as almost a different skill being face to face. And even, well, one, if you're in person, because there's just bodily reactions to then having to debate and someone go against you. But if they can't see you, there's a bit of protection there and that where people might act differently is what I'm thinking.
Well, I have had interactions with my coworkers where they're like, "Oh, you do debates?" And they like, you know how when two dudes are in the gym and like one will like square up to the other one and be like, "You think you're so tough?" And he's like, all his
Hmm,
muscles
hmm.
are fake. He's wearing like a fake body muscle suit, you know?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
the other dude's been going to the gym and doing like taekwondo for like 20 years. I mean, I'm not saying that's me, but I'm saying like only having done this for a few months, it doesn't take much to build like a solid argumentative structure and like a tool set, if you will, of like how to
Hmm.
go about deconstructing or constructing an argument.
Yeah. So the 20 years taekwondo, that gets me into what is your background of education? I mean, can see the people you're talking to that for the most part, you're heads above them and that there isn't much of a competition in intellectually.
So
But who influenced you? What have you learned before debates?
I am not a college graduate. I graduated high school in 2016, and then I was homeless for a little bit, and then I joined the army, and then all that happened, and I kept putting off college until I was like, look, I need to figure out what I want to do with my life, and I need
Hmm,
to
hmm.
have some kind of thing to do rather than just come home, sit around, and do nothing. So I started doing debates. I know that I told you I started in a couple of online forums of people who would just meet up like once a week and talk about the things that were happening in the country. The first discussion that I joined, it was about the shooting of Renee Good. It was about 3 or 4 days after it happened, and whether or not that was justified.
Hmm, hmm.
And but like before I started doing debates, I was probably like the average person, you know, doing my 9 to 5, coming home and like winding down from the 9 to 5, getting ready for the next day. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, like I have always been addicted to learning. Um,
Yeah. I saw in your YouTube description, you call yourself a bibliophile. And I think in the age of the Epstein files, it's very brave to come out as that.
well, I mean, anybody who doesn't understand what the words mean, if you don't understand what the words mean and you don't look it up before you start throwing around accusations, that's on you. Like that's your fault.
And usually then that person isn't really worth your time.
Exactly.
Those forums you mentioned, was it all text based then? Or that
It
was
was
the
video based.
speech? Okay.
Yeah. It was similar to Discord. It's called Meetup. It,
Oh, yeah, yeah, I know that.
yeah. But
And for studying your logic, because you said you didn't do that before the debates either. What did you do to learn it? Because that was my first comment when I saw your video is more logic than people have ever, or most people have ever experienced.
so the thing about, and I'm probably gonna get some flack for this, but the thing about computer programs is that if you train them properly, they know how to do. They have like a very repeatable format that they use. So, for example, I could ask ChatGPT, uh, why is abortion wrong? And ChatGPT, and,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll ask it for like, give me two premises and a conclusion. And it's very, very, very good at that because when it was created, ChatGPT was fed Im immense amounts of philosophy, debate, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, while it does largely fail at being consistent with like historical facts and biographical data and things like that, it is absolutely um, far and above what any single person could achieve when it comes to logic and reasoning. Because
So you were learning by talking to ChatGPT then?
yeah, so I actually would spend several hours sometimes in a day just talking back and forth with ChatGPT, learning how to argue.
Yeah, that I mean, a computer is the most logical thing, so that's a good opponent in that way. Well, while I'm on logic and emotion, I want to read the comment because you had made a post about that people should think more logical than emotional. And I asked, why do you think that? You responded, emotional reactions are immediate. Logic requires deliberation. The more you train yourself to think logically, the better you become at judging whether your emotional reaction is actually justified. So, with that, I want to ask, how's your love life? Do a lot of women like all the logic?
um, so there are certain instances where an immediate emotional reaction would be the preferable one. If you were to come across a child drowning in a river, most
Mm,
people would say that it's illogical to jump into the river after the child. But most people would also frown on somebody who stands there and deliberates, but does the premise that the child is
hmm
drowning necessarily lead to the conclusion that I should save them? Like
hmm
it
hmm
just, while it might be illogical to jump in, it still makes sense because you need an immediate reaction to that situation, you know, um, and I think a lot of the same things apply to like relationships. If you sit there and deliberate, like, well, how can I actually make this person uh be attracted no. You're trying to make love into a science, right? It just
hmm
doesn't it
hmm
just doesn't work that way. So having said all that, I currently do not have the time to spare for a relationship. So, and I think it's unethical to try and do something when you don't have the time or attention to spare. And
hmm Yeah, and that's a big recommendation I have for young men is not to worry about relationships because I did it when I was young and it threw off my plan, like the path I was on. So I think that is a good idea to do. Are you taking a full college course load, 12 credits or more?
I'm doing 2 classes at a time,
Okay.
but
Because you're working a full-time job
the
and
classes,
running a successful social media.
yeah, the classes are 3 months 2 months long, and I do 2 of them at a time, and that's 6 credits, and then I go to another 2 courses, and then another 2.
And Uncle Sam pays for it.
Yep.
Which is yeah, so it's like I fully I'm a Iraq war veteran, if anybody that doesn't know. So I'm all for taking advantage of all your benefits. But so staying with the what we're saying with the child drowning, how it's not necessarily logical. Um, that's what I want to I'd see logic as a tool or one path of thinking, and there are multiple, like that emotion would be another path. Because I think of art is not logical, or it isn't always logical. It doesn't have to be. So there is, to me, something more out there, and you can use these different tools to strengthen your logic even,
Well,
or your arguments.
Are you familiar with the term axiom?
I'm familiar with the word. Do you want to give a quick description what you're meaning by it?
So an axiom is a fundamental or foundational statement that people accept as true because any further deliberation on it might lead to incoherence. So, for
Mhm, mhm,
example, while it is true that logic itself is not, it can't um, justify itself, right? Because that would be circular. Most people
mhm,
accept logic as axiomatically true because to deliberate further on it would lead to incoherence.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
so, but the thing is that emotion doesn't really have axioms in the way that logic does. Other ways of thinking don't really have things that are always accepted as true, you know?
mhm, mhm,
So, for instance, if you have, let's say you have a DV situation, right? Um, and one person could say, "Oh, well, the wife cheated on the husband, uh, and then the husband's reaction was justified." True, but why did the wife cheat? Because the
mhm, mhm.
husband wasn't around, so the wife cheating would be justified. Well, why wasn't the husband around? Well, because his job kept like there's no
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
axioms when it comes to emotion and like trying to justify emotional reactions. So I think that logic is where you start, right? If you have logic and but again, if you have an immediate emotional reaction, you would then need to use logic to justify your position after the fact instead of before the fact. So, it there's certain situations where yes, it is better to logically reason your way through a situation before you emotionally react, and there are situations where the opposite holds true. But logic, a total abandonment of logic will often lead you to the wrong conclusion, but a total abandonment of emotion rarely will, as long as you have logic.
Mm,
And
mm. Yeah, it's a good
and I
one.
think it's the same for other ways of thinking as well.
Do you allow, I guess, or that people, because people start at different places, that they might still have a logical, like two parties could have a logical thinking process, but they come to different conclusions because they started in different places and then having different lived experiences. So they use that to justify their logic to a different conclusion. Does that still seem credible to you?
Not really, because if I mean, you would have to. So with a syllogism is a foundation, like a foundational structure of an argument. So premise one, if A is true, uh, or premise one is A is blah blah blah. Blah, premise two is B is blah blah
Hmm.
blah. Conclusion, whatever. So, for example, premise one would be it is wrong to intentionally kill an innocent human being. Premise two would be abortion intentionally kills an innocent human being. The conclusion would be, therefore, abortion is wrong, right? The
Hmm.
only way that you can get to a different conclusion is if you don't agree on the first or the second premise, right?
Hmm.
So it's not a failing of logic that people arrive at different conclusions. It's a failing of, oh, I don't accept your premise. And
Hmm.
every single statement that is like, well, you shouldn't do this, or um that was wrong. Like all of those are actually syllogisms. People just don't realize it. They skip the
Oh
premises
yeah.
and go
Oh
straight
yeah.
to the conclusion. And the reason that we have disagreement on whether something is right or wrong is because we disagree on the premises, not necessarily on the conclusion,
Hmm.
right? Because you may
Yeah.
agree with
Yeah.
their conclusion if you accept their premises as true. So the conclusion is irrelevant. It's the premises that people take issue with.
Mm-hmm. And so in logic, you could say that the that the the logic is valid. So that checks out. The A equals B, B equals C, A equals C can check out. But your premises or definitions, argue, or people argue with you a lot over what does, because with abortion they would say, well, that's not a human, so you're not killing a human. So you're arguing over definitions in that sense.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, that's why most of the time my clips like devolve into. I actually had somebody one time, I don't know if you saw this clip, but he said the typical trans women are women, right? And I said, well, let me pick a different one, actually. He said, black on black crime doesn't exist, or it's fake, or something like that. And I said,
Okay.
what do you mean by it's fake? And he says, well, what do you think I mean? And I say, well, if you're claiming that it doesn't happen, that's factually incorrect. Black people commit crimes against other black people. And he's like, do you think I know that? And I was like, I don't know. Why don't you tell me what you mean? And he's like, no, you can hang out in the comments. And then he kicks me from the panel. It's like, why would you even let somebody up if you're not willing to explain yourself? And, like, I
Yeah.
obviously don't understand what you're trying to get at when you say this thing is fake or somebody can't do this one thing. So just explain it to me. It's not that hard. I honestly
Yep.
do not
Yep.
understand the refusal to.
I mean, I'm thinking that their brain actually has a wall put up that once you've challenged a thing that they never have challenged, it's like it does not exist to them. So yeah, they shut down as a person then.
Well, I am constantly refining my positions.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
There are some that I find it more difficult to challenge internally, like the abortion. I think that's probably the most difficult one because I've accepted my two premises as true, and therefore that leads to my conclusion. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I've reasoned through that, so I'm pretty solid in that one. But like when it comes to religion, I have only accepted or identified with Pyrrhonism in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, really? Would you have called yourself an atheist before that? Before then?
For a while, I called myself an agnostic.
Oh, okay.
They
Oh, okay.
are slightly different. Agnostic,
Yeah, I mean, I see how that fits your mold.
yeah. But yeah, I think, and another thing that I take a Pyrrhonistic view of is objective morality. I know that objective morality exists because subjective morality allows for totally awful things, right? If morality is purely subjective, then nobody could say that any action is right or.
Mm-hmm. So what what justifies you in saying anything is right or wrong then with your
I don't
morality?
believe in subjective morality. I believe in objective morality. I just don't know where it comes from.
But well, I'm asking like what is objectively wrong
Oh,
then?
like sexual assault, I suppose. Things that
Really?
like it is. I think there are fundamental human rights that we have. Again, I also don't know where those come from. But like, and this is exactly why I say I take a Pyrrhonistic view of this because I don't know where these things come from. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of a
Mm-hmm.
lot of what I see as objective morality is instinctual.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think it is very possible that morality is based on instinct. But again, I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm thinking with the SA idea. I think of like nature and how it's basically, I mean, it's kill or be killed. So I'm wondering where's the morality in there, or does it not exist for them, but then for us?
I
And
think that
That's where I then.
I think that in order to be considered morally in any significant capacity, you have to be capable of having more like discussions on morality. Like if you can't consider moral
Mhm, mhm.
truths, then you shouldn't be treated as a moral agent. You may be a moral
Have you
patient,
have you
but
have you studied Kant, Immanuel
dude,
Kant?
I find Kant so difficult to read. That man,
Well, yeah,
that
yes.
man had an IQ of like 170. But yeah,
I could see.
I have a book. Let me grab it real quick.
But I was thinking of categorical imperatives.
Yeah, so I've got the three critiques.
Okay. Yeah, I've got Critique of Pure Reason right here.
For those of you watching my stream on TikTok, um an average sentence in like a normal book would have probably 1 or 2 commas. There are sentences in this book that have 15 commas.
Yeah, that's Kant for you.
He uses a lot of Latin too. And I'm still not entirely sure what a priori means.
Is it not
I mean,
what you were saying even
like prior
yeah, yeah.
knowledge, yeah, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's not only that. And like I said, I don't fully understand what it is.
Well, so what I was saying was what we were thinking with morality and nature seems to line up with Kant's categorical imperatives, that they might be similar ideas, that there are these rules that just exist. I mean, his way is like, why this thing is an imperative, because if we do the opposite of it, all of society stops existing. So it has to be this way.
Actually, I think that a lot of what we see as moral was uh, whether or not you agree with evolution. Let's just say, for sake of argument, I think we evolved to have these characteristics. Actually, I would say that we were only able to evolve because we had these characteristics, right? A species will do what is conducive to it in order to survive. So you must
Hmm.
have some sort of principle that says, hey, 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 whoa, we're trying to survive here. Don't kill me, right?
Yeah.
Like you killing me or you unaliving me, whatever, uh,
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
bad for our flourishing. So don't do it, you
Hmm.
know?
And if everybody were unaliving everybody, then no one's left.
Exactly.
So do you believe in a capital T truth? Is that kind of what you were already describing? That there has to be these truths?
I believe in what I can observe.
How do you feel about through smartphones and like through technology then? It's not your senses. Do you think those are still trustworthy?
Mm. Well, that's very interesting. I think that, and I will always, always, always hold this view. If you are
Okay.
trying to
Okay.
learn something, you should not watch TikToks. You should not watch YouTube Shorts. You should not watch Facebook Reels unless there are no edits.
Mm.
Because what you want is the entire structure of like what is happening. So, for instance, January 6th, 2021, right?
Hmm.
A lot of mainstream media made it look like every single person who was there on January 6th was like smashing windows and like running through like the buildings and all this stuff. But in reality, there's about 80,000 hours of footage that shows that people are just walking calmly through the hallways and like they're just holding
Mm-hmm.
signs. They're not even really talking that much. And like you need full context in order to understand a situation, but I don't think you should entirely negate
Hmm.
like technology.
What you're seeing.
Yeah. I would like
Yeah, no,
if I were to see like, and I do this regularly, but if I see Andrew Wilson having a debate and it's not the full debate, I will absolutely pause, switch out, like
mm-hmm.
go to another tab and be like, "Hey, what does uh what do academic sources actually say about this?" And like
Mm-hmm.
and the same question you had for smartphones and technology could be said for books.
Oh yeah,
Like
oh yeah.
anybody could write a book about anything these days and self-publish it. So,
Yeah, well, and that's where I think logic is important in terms of words. So I like to say, like, the words have to stand on their own because they could be a lie. So you have to work through what does this specifically say, and then what do these terms mean in this context.
well,
So it's like,
are you familiar with the hermeneutical circle?
I don't think I am.
So it's where you and a common, like the most common example of this is people reading the Bible, right? You
Hmm.
read something once, and then once you read it, you're better able to understand it, so that the next time that you read it, you're better able to understand it. And then like you just keep going and keep going and keep going. And you're always
Yeah.
in this circle of like refining your understanding. And that's why people say with the Bible, they're always learning something new, no matter how many times
Hmm.
they've read the Bible, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's also important. If you were to take the three critiques by Immanuel Kant and you were to just power through the first reading, you're not gonna understand what he's saying on the first go
For
around.
sure. For sure.
You're absolutely not. And the hermeneutical circle also includes if you understand the sentences, you'll understand the page. But you can't really understand the sentences
Hmm.
until you understand the page. So like you have to keep going through and going through and you're always learning. You could read the same book your entire life and you will never know everything. That's within the book.
Hmm.
So that's also
So
important.
I think that with that, there's probably different levels that people are invested. And I think you are one, like you said, always learning. You have this energy to keep going because, like, working a full time job, going to school, doing the social media, like, I commend you on all of that. How do you do it? You just, do you sleep 8 hours a
I
day?
do not. I sleep
Oh, okay.
usually less than 6 hours a
That's,
day.
uh huh.
But I catch up on weekends. It's um
Hmm. Yeah, I mean 6 isn't bad, but because you were even telling me that on your lunch break you'll jump into some debates. So it seems like every minute you're squeezing more knowledge in.
yeah, I probably spend more time looking stuff up than I probably should. But I've learned so much. I like I said,
Hmm.
I'm a serial learner. Um I'm always looking for that like new piece of information.
Uh, have you studied Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche?
Oh, no,
Oh,
I
okay. Oh,
haven't.
okay. Are you not interested in it?
I am. I just like I have very little time. And I told you I have
Hmm.
between
Hmm.
4 and 6 hours of free time a week. And I use that to I use a lot of that to read. So like
Hmm.
I'm working my way through world history right now and I've got
Oh,
probably
oh.
50 books like to get through. So
Yeah,
eventually I'll
yes.
get there. But it's not going to be for a while.
Well, I was just thinking of him in contrast to Kant, where he's doing sort of one-liners almost
He's
a lot of the
he's a
time.
nurture versus nature guy, isn't he?
I don't know how much about that. So, like, things I know, he said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So that could be a nurture. God is dead and we killed him. If you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss stares into you. But he can take people into a dark place. But he's a brilliant mind to be matched with Kant. Your brilliant mind is writing a book, right? Right?
It is.
Would-
It is. I am just the conduit. Yes, I am writing a political thriller. It has a lot of and it's a 3-book series, but in the first novel, it has a lot of parallels to what we're seeing right now. As regarding like political unrest, political violence, and people being okay with political violence. It's set
Mhm.
in 2028. It features the main character's name is Owen Holloway, and he's a pretty standard, low key kind of guy. He works as the director of communications for a mayor's office in a fictional town called Belhaven, Colorado. It's about
Mhm.
2 hours about an hour from Aspen, and it's just like a up and coming municipality, but he is softly on the right wing. He's a conservative, and he goes about his business, and throughout the country, this political unrest and political violence is escalating. And the government says, what can we do to stop this from happening? And to not give too much away, eventually um, it becomes a total authoritarian dictatorship. And all of the
Mhm.
conservatives are thrown into labor camps where they're never seen again. And yeah, I could read a little bit of it. I could read the prologue if you guys
Yeah, yeah.
are interested.
If you'd like, you.
All right. So it's going to be a little cheesy because my narration voice isn't very good. But here we go. This is Owen, 2 years after the start of the first novel. Get on your knees.
Mhm.
Owen barely heard the command before the buttstock of the M4 crashed into the back of his head. Skin tore from his palms as he collapsed forward onto the pavement. Heat radiated through it immediately. Owen cried out and instinctively tried to push himself up, but a boot slammed between his shoulders and forced him back down. The guard's rust-colored hair looked sickly against his pale blue uniform. Bigot scum, he spat. As Owen was pulled back to his feet, the cool steel of the cuffs fastened around his wrists came almost as a relief. My apology was sincere, he said. Not sincere enough. A week earlier, Owen had been found guilty of destabilizing rhetoric after publicly criticizing the mayor's community accessibility initiative, which had mandated the removal of privately owned residential fencing throughout Belhaven. Owen had been given a choice: deliver a formal public apology or face imprisonment. He had spent 3 days preparing his apology. Apparently, sincerity required more rehearsal. From the beginning, he had known none of it would ever matter. No apology would ever be enough. None ever were. He had heard stories, mostly propaganda, about the prisons he was about to enter, but in 3 years, he had never heard of anyone returning from them, regardless of how minor their offenses seemed. And now he was going. And that is the prologue.
Exciting. Have you already finished writing? Do you have a timeline what you're thinking?
So
Okay.
I am currently doing I'm on chapter 4, and I gotta do some reorganizing to make the story flow better, but I am definitely in the beginning stages.
I mean, I think it's great, and I'll love to read it when it comes out. Were you, because it's reminding me a lot of the Charlie Kirk situation, the assassination. Were you strongly affected by that?
I absolutely was. I mean, it's a sad day when a political assassination occurs, but what
Hmm.
troubled me even more and what frightened me even more was the fact that so many people were celebrating it.
Yeah.
I And people, they say that bravery only shows itself in like the darkest of times. People only act like heroes
Mm.
when the most is at stake. I wouldn't call myself a hero, but I don't know if you've noticed this, but the number of people who have come out and started doing exactly what Charlie was doing since Charlie was killed is crazy. He's like a
Mm-hmm.
hydra. You cut off one head,
Yeah.
25,000 more take its place.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they would have realized that, perhaps Charlie would still be alive, but I think that Charlie would see it as a net positive that he was the catalyst for all of these other people starting to do what he was doing. But
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and people
And
say,
it's
like,
and it's still ongoing, so we're not finished the work
"Oh,
yet.
absolutely not. No." And I only have 10,000 followers on Facebook, but like 5 years from now, like 10 years from now, where will I be? I'll probably still be doing a lot of the same stuff that I'm doing right now, but I'll definitely have more free time.
Yeah. Well, I hope you do keep doing it, because it's also like, one, what you're doing with the logic stuff is very exciting, but I've seen you have some creative ideas with your content, like how you were thanking all the video with thanking all the comments, and the video of a guy said something mean to you and you suggested or gave the Amazon link to a baby bottle. So it's like, those are things that I don't see elsewhere. So you have a creativity that makes you unique as well as smart. So I hope you keep going.
I try to keep it professional. I try to keep it grounded. Like, I try to make my responses as logical as possible, because the more I give a logical response, the better I get at naturally giving those responses, right? But
Hmm.
sometimes it just irks me. Like, somebody says, like, I'll see the same commenters in my videos over and
Hmm.
over and
Hmm.
over and over again. And like, some of them never give a valid rebuttal. They never give like any kind of retort besides just insulting me. And I
Hmm.
think I think it's worse to let that continue without any response to it.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of touches on the Charlie Kirk thing. Like, the Republicans weren't being violent or like too pushy, I felt. And then that happened. There was this, okay, we need to step up.
Yeah. And that's a lot of the reason why I started writing my book too, is because, you know, it probably won't happen, but it's not outside the realm of feasibility that you know, the left could uh or even the right, either side could
Oh, yeah.
totally usurp the powers that be. Like, political we've seen that both sides are willing to commit political assassinations. Um and I could see, and I won't say, I don't want to be like politically performative, but it is possible that one side could say, "Hey, there's so much political unrest, we're gonna confiscate all firearms until we can establish a sense of, like, normalcy and
Mm-hmm.
peace," right? And then secretly, they're only confiscating the firearms of the other side.
Yeah.
And then, once all those are confiscated, they're like, "Oh, surprise, we actually kept all of ours, and now you have to do exactly what we say or get thrown into a labor camp or shot."
Which is not out of the realm of possibility in the world sense. Like, it's
It
happened.
it absolutely has happened, and that a lot of my book, I would say most of my book is grounded in reality, and, that's what makes it so scary too, is like
Yeah. That's the monsters in reality are often scarier than those of fiction.
Yep.
Well, that's covers all my questions. Did you have anything you wanted to promote before we sign off?
Um, I would just ask that you guys, learn how to use logic. Learn how to use logic, because even if you only want to seem smarter than everybody else, logic is a fantastic way to do that, and it is so easy to learn. It is so easy to
Mhm.
learn. All you have to do is go on ChatGPT and say, "Teach me how to think logically." And if you have higher than a average IQ, it will come easily to you. Okay, I promise. I am not a very smart person, and I was able to learn how to do all of this in 3 months. Okay. Um, yeah, but that's all I have. You know, I don't promote anything other than myself. So if you guys want to follow me, go ahead. I also, I've got all my links in my TikTok, in my link tree.
Yeah, and I'll be posting links on the bottom of this video when I post it for you.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
But so humble of you to say you're not that smart. And yeah, for people to learn logic, because there are practical uses in, as like an electrician, even making the light switches. If you have two light switches in a room, you have a logic problem. So, and computer science, like programming, is all logic. So people should know more logic, understand the basic terms like and, or, and but, that they have logical meanings.
Yeah, well, I I enjoyed this. Honestly,
Yeah, I hope that we can get together again sometime to specifically talk religion, because I think there's a lot we could go with that.
I
But
I will be in San Antonio next week. Um, I may be able to schedule something for that Sunday. But I'll still be in San Antonio, but I might be able to. I don't know if you've got that kind of free time on a Sunday, but
I don't know. I have to even see what my schedule is. But I'm going to end the video here at least. Go with
yep.
God.
Have a good one.